the weight of the world you carry today. It isn't actually yours. Just listen to that thought for a moment. Feel it resting in the air above you. The stress, the names, the endless lists of things to be done, none of it belongs to the person you are becoming in this very second. You are simply holding on to echoes. You are clutching a long, heavy chain of shadows that began thousands and thousands of years ago, in a silent, ancient void, long before the first star was ever lit in the velvet sky. Tonight, we are not just revisiting the ancient myths of gods and titans. We are not here to study, or to learn, or to memorize. We are here to return the burdens of those old, tired deities back to the shadows where they belong, so you can finally, truly, let go. I want you to realize something that the ancients knew in their bones, but we have forgotten in the neon noise of the modern world. The gods did not only live on a distant, cold, marble mountain. They lived in the quiet, fragile, and often overlooked spaces between our thoughts. Their wars, their betrayals, their deep, aching generational longing. They are the very same rhythms that move through your own breath right now, in this room, in this silence. As you settle into your pillows, and as you feel the invisible hand of gravity pulling you deeper and deeper into the softness of your mattress, understand this. You do not need to follow a plot. You do not need to remember the names of the kings, or the dates of the battles, or the complex, tangled lineages of the stars. My voice is not the voice of a teacher. It is not the voice of a narrator. It is just a lighthouse, flickering dimly in a very gentle, very warm, and very protective fog. We are traveling back together, stepping carefully away from the bright lights of the present, and moving toward the very first family. We are going back to the first trauma of existence, not to solve it, not to fix it, but simply to watch it dissolve. Watch it melt. Watch it vanish into the velvet dark of chaos. Your only responsibility, in this sacred moment, and for the long hours of the night that follow, is simply to exist. That is all. To breathe. To be. The story will happen around you, flowing like a warm, salt-thick tide that carries no debris. Before there was Gaia, the earth, and before there was the heavy stardusted dome of the sky, there was a peace so profound it had no name, no boundary, and no end. Let us find that place together. Let the air in your room become a heavy protective quilt, a shield made of silence that protects you from the demands of tomorrow. Every word I speak from this moment on is a small weight being lifted from your chest. Every sentence is designed to make the world outside feel smaller, more distant, and entirely irrelevant, while the world within you becomes infinite, still, and dark. We begin our journey at the very edge of the abyss. But look closely, this abyss is not empty. It is not a hole. It is a soft, welcoming place, where the silence is waiting to embrace you, to hold you, and to welcome you home. Just listen to the air. Listen to the space between my words. We are entering the dawn of the world, the place where the very first dream is about to begin. Every breath you take is a step deeper into the mist. Every thought you have is a leaf falling onto a still, black lake. You are safe. You are drifting. You are exactly where you were always meant to be. Let the darkness be your guide. Let the echoes of the gods fade into the hum of your own heart. We are going back to the beginning. We are going back to the quiet. We are going back to the rest that existed before the stars. Feel the weight of your body against the bed. Take a long, slow moment to truly notice it. Not just the idea of your body, but the actual physical reality of your existence in this space. Notice the way the mattress rises to meet the curve of your spine, offering a support that is constant and unwavering. Notice the way the fabric of your sheets rests against your skin, perhaps a bit cool at first, then warming to match your own heat, acting like a soft second layer of protection against the world outside. There is nowhere else you need to be. There is absolutely nothing else you need to do. Every obligation you met today, Every lingering conversation that still echoes in the corners of your mind, every worry about what tomorrow might bring it is all moving away from you now. Imagine those thoughts as small wooden boats, drifting slowly out onto a vast midnight sea. Watch them go. Watch them get smaller and smaller until they are nothing more than tiny, silent specks on the distant horizon, and then, eventually, they vanish altogether. We are going to begin a journey together through the stars and into the deep, echoing myths of old. But before we move, we must ensure that your vessel, your physical self, is completely anchored in a state of absolute peace. I want you to bring your awareness all the way down to your feet. Feel your toes. Perhaps give them a tiny, almost invisible wiggle just to acknowledge them, and then let them go completely limp. Imagine a warm golden light thick like honey and soft like starlight beginning to pool at the very soles of your feet. This light carries with it a profound sense of heaviness and a soothing, radiant heat. Feel it soaking into your heels, moving through your ankles, and rising slowly, inch by inch, into your calves. Your lower legs are becoming heavy, so heavy, like ancient stones resting at the bottom of a clear, still, and silent lake. The water above is calm, and you are resting securely beneath it. The light moves upward now, crossing the threshold of your knees and flooding into your thighs. Any tension you have been holding in the large muscles of your legs, the tension of walking, of standing, of rushing through your life simply evaporates. It turns into a fine mist and disappears. Your legs feel weighted, sinking deeper and deeper into the bed, completely disconnected from the need to move. They have finished their work for the day. This warmth continues its slow, patient journey, flowing into your hips and spreading across your lower back. This is often where we carry the silent weight of our striving, the hidden burden of moving through the world. Let it all dissolve. Feel your lower back widening, softening, and finally surrendering to the surface beneath you. You are being held. You are being supported by the earth itself. Imagine now that we are sitting together by a small, ancient campfire. This is Fox's campfire, a place that exists outside of time, tucked away in a hidden glade where the stars feel close enough to touch. The air around us is cool and crisp, scented with the faint, sweet smell of cedar smoke, dried lavender, and dampened earth. But where you are sitting, wrapped in a thick, heavy, woolly blanket, you are perfectly, blissfully warm. The orange glow of the embers dances behind your closed eyelids, a soft, rhythmic pulsing of light. The gentle crackle of the wood is the only sound in this private wilderness. This is your sanctuary. Here, the laws of the noisy, demanding outside world do not apply. Time does not tick here. It only flows, like a river moving through a forest at night. Continue to let that golden light of relaxation travel up your spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, like a warm hand resting against your back. It moves into your stomach, smoothing out the tiny knots of anxiety, turning every breath you take into a slow, rhythmic, and effortless wave. Your chest rises and falls without any conscious thought, like the tide of a distant midnight ocean, reaching the shore and pulling back, over and over again. The light spreads into your fingertips now, warming your palms, traveling up your forearms and over your elbows, until your arms feel like lead, comfortably heavy, resting still and motionless by your side. You couldn't move them even if you wanted to, and you find that you have no desire to try. Now, bring that focus to your shoulders. This is the place where the gods of old were said to carry the weight of the sky. This is where you carry your own version of the heavens, the responsibilities, the expectations, the pressures of your life. Tonight, I want you to let the sky fall. You do not need to hold it up anymore. You are relieved of that duty. Feel your shoulders dropping away from your ears, spreading out, melting into the softness of the pillows. The warmth moves into your neck, loosening the hidden tight cords of tension that have built up throughout the day. Finally, the light flows into your face. Soften your jaw. Let there be a small, peaceful space between your teeth. Smooth the skin of your forehead until it is as calm and unruffled as a mountain pool. Relax the tiny muscles around your eyes. Your eyelids are so heavy now, so peacefully sealed, weighted down by the golden dust of sleep. In this vast, infinite universe, among the shifting stars and the ancient warring shadows of the gods, you are the most secure element. You are the center of this stillness. Planets may spin in their orbits, and great empires may rise and fall in the dusty scrolls of history. But right here, in the circle of this campfire's glow, you are untouchable. You are safe. You are protected by the very silence you have created within yourself. There is a profound, quiet power in your stillness. You are a mountain. You are a deep forest. You are the night sky itself, vast, dark, and perfectly at rest. Soft shoulders, heavy eyes, a rhythmic, quiet heart. Feel the heartbeat. It is the only clock that matters now. The fire at our feet is burning low, turning into a deep, pulsing red glow. The smoke rises in a single, thin, silvery line, pointing toward the velvet canopy above us. You are grounded. You are anchored to the earth, held fast by the gravity of peace. Your body has become a temple of silence. And because you are so firmly rooted in this safety, because you are so deeply anchored in this bed, we can now afford to let our minds wander where the physical body cannot go. Your spirit is light, even as your limbs are heavy. Now that you are grounded, now that the weight of your physical self is completely at rest and tucked away in the safety of this room, let us look up. Let us peer past the dying embers of the fire, past the trees of our glade, through the thin veil of the atmosphere, and into the ancient, yawning void. We are going back to the beginning of the beginning. We are going back to the place where there was no earth to stand on, only the breath of the universe waiting to happen. The void is calling, not with a shout, but with a whisper, inviting you to see how it all began. Chaos was not a storm, but a soft, dark velvet yawning. It was an infinite abyss, yet it did not feel like a fall, for there was no gravity to pull you down, and no ground to meet you. Imagine, if you can, a space so vast that distance has no meaning, a silence so absolute that the very concept of a sound has never even been dreamed of in the deepest sleep of the universe. This was the beginning of all beginnings. Before the first heartbeat of the world, before the first flicker of light divided the dark from the dark, there was only the primordial void, a state of pure, unformed, and endless potential. It was like that fleeting moment, just before you fall into a deep, dreamless sleep, where the edges of your room disappear, the walls melt away, and you find yourself suspended in a sea of shadow that feels both infinite and intimately close, like a breath held in the dark. In this velvet void, there was no cold to shiver from, no heat to burn, no pressure to weigh you down. There was only a profound, heavy, and welcoming stillness that stretched on for eternities that no one was there to count, no one was there to witness, and no one was there to remember. Within this yawning expanse, within this quiet womb of non-existence, something began to stir. It was not a movement of hands or feet, for those things were still hidden in the future. It was a movement of the will, a slow, tectonic shifting of intent. Out of the very heart of the formless dark, a certain density began to coalesce, a weight began to gather where before there was only emptiness. Imagine the way a thick mist slowly gathers into a single heavy droplet of water on a leaf, or the way a wandering thought slowly crystallizes into a vivid memory. This was the emergence of Gaia. She did not arrive with a bang, or a roar, or a flash of blinding light. She emerged as a sigh of substance, a slow thickening of the shadows. Gaia, the deep-breasted earth, the eternal and unwavering foundation upon which every mountain would rise, every forest would grow, and every person you have ever loved would eventually find their rest. As Gaia took form, she brought with her the very first sensations the universe had ever known. Can you feel the texture of that ancient earth beneath your mind's eye? Not the dry, jagged dust of a barren desert, but a rich, moist, and ancient soil, smelling of cool moss and deep minerals, cool to the touch and infinitely strong. She was the first solid thing in a universe made of whispers and ghosts. She was the anchor in the storm of nothingness. But as Gaia stretched her obsidian limbs across the void, as she felt the vastness of her own being expanding into the dark, she realized a truth that would haunt every living being that followed in her footsteps for all of time. She was alone. Surrounded by the infinite hollow reaches of chaos, she was a solitary island of existence in a sea of non-being. Imagine, if you will, the profound loneliness of the first goddess. She had no one to speak to in the dark, no one to mirror her ancient beauty, no one to share the heavy silent burden of being the only thing that was real. She was the mother of all, the source of all life, but she was a mother without a child to hold, a queen without a kingdom to rule, a giant heart beating all by itself in a cavern of endless night. The silence of the void pressed against her skin, and Gaia, in her infinite and terrifying strength, felt the first pang of a very familiar, very human emotion, the longing for connection. She looked out into the dark ink of the abyss, and she desired, more than anything else, to be seen, to be known, to be touched. Everything we know today, every city ever built of stone and steel, every song ever sung into the wind, every hand ever held in the quiet of the night, it all came from this single, ancient, and primal desire, not to be alone. Existence itself was born from a need for companionship. The mountains rose because Gaia wanted to reach out into the empty air. The valleys dipped because she wanted to create a cradle for something other than herself. We often think of the creation of the world as a grand architectural feat, a construction of logic and power. But in the quiet, heavy stillness of this night, I want you to see it for what it truly was, an act of absolute vulnerability. The earth was lonely, and so she began to dream of a partner. She began to dream of a witness. Deep space, dark ink, endless, echoing peace. Can you feel the slow expansion of your own mind as you contemplate this impossible scale? You are no longer confined to the four walls of your room. You are no longer tethered to the year or the hour. You are drifting with Gaia in the primordial soup of the beginning, a witness to the very first breath the world ever took. The darkness around her was not an enemy to be feared. It was a canvas, vast and inviting. And on that canvas, Gaia began to draw the outlines of everything. She felt the weight of her own mountains forming like slow thoughts, the cool subterranean rivers beginning to flow like deep, dark veins through her stone body. Every vibration of her existence was a call into the void, a quiet request for a friend. The silence of chaos began to change. It was no longer a hollow, empty silence. It was a silence filled with heavy expectation, like the air before a summer rain. Gaia lay in the center of the dark, her chest rising and falling in a slow, rhythmic pulse, the effort of being the only foundation in existence. She was the stability we all crave when we are tired. She was the rest that never ends. She was the bed that never moves. And as she rested, she realized that to be a foundation, there must be something to support. To be an earth, there must be a sky to look down upon her and tell her she is beautiful. She needed a mirror that was as vast, as eternal, and as deep as she was. But even the earth, in all her ancient, fertile, and terrifying power, needed the sky to feel complete. She needed a ceiling for her home, a witness for her beauty, and a partner for her journey through the long, lonely aeons. And so, drawing from her own essence, Gaia began to pull upward, reaching her invisible hands into the velvet yawning of chaos to create the one thing that could ever truly encompass her. She began to dream into existence Uranus, the starry heavens, the one who would wrap around her like a heavy, glittering quilt of light and fire. She reached into the dark, and for the first time, the dark began to reach back. Deep space, dark ink, endless, perfect peace. The weight of Gaia is the weight of your body pressing into the mattress. The silence of the primordial void is the silence of your room at this very moment. You are resting on the foundation of the first mother, safe in the knowledge that you are a part of a story that began with a simple, quiet need for love. As Gaia waits in the darkness for the sky to form, you too can wait in this peaceful shadow. The world is coming, the stars are waking, the gods are preparing to be born, but for now, there is only the soft, dark velvet of the beginning, and the rhythmic, steady pulse of an earth that is finally ready to share the night with another. The longing is ending, and the connection is about to begin. Every atom of your being is still. Every thought is drifting. You are the earth. You are the void. And you are the peace that existed before time. Uranus draped himself over Gaia, a heavy, suffocating, and infinite blanket of stars that seemed to have no beginning, no end, and no mercy. Imagine, if you can, the sky not as the distant, blue, or airy ceiling we see today, but as a living, breathing, and immense physical weight, a vast expanse of crushing indigo, obsidian shadows, and burning silver embers, pressing down, inch by inch, second by second, upon the warm, soft, and fertile curves of the earth. In those earliest, rawest days of the world's infancy, there was no space between the ground and the heavens. There was no horizon to look toward for hope. There was no wind to carry a message or a sigh. There was only the eternal, overwhelming, and absolute embrace of the sky and the earth, locked together in a union that was as beautiful as a celestial jewel, but as terrifying and claustrophobic as a cage made of starlight. Uranus was the first king, the first father, a being composed of pure, cold, and celestial light. But he was a king who did not know how to share the universe he inhabited. He loved Gaia, but he loved her in a way that was possessive, narrow, and dark. He loved his own perfection, his own unmoving stillness, more than the chaotic, pulsing life he had helped create. He looked down at the world beginning to move and stir beneath him, and he saw something that frightened his divine heart to its very core. He saw the messiness of growth. He saw the unpredictability of life. He saw change. As time drifted by in the slow, rhythmic, and heavy pulse of the primordial era, an era where a single day might last 1,000 years, Gaia began to bring forth life from the deep, dark, and rich soil of her being. She brought forth the Titans, beautiful and powerful beings of immense stature and golden grace. But as her fertility deepened, she also brought forth children who were strange, wild, and frighteningly chaotic. She gave birth to the Cyclops, with their single, staring eyes that burned like miniature, trapped suns. She gave birth to the Hecatoncheires, the 100-handed ones, beings of staggering, earth-shaking strength, and shifting, confusing, and terrifying forms. These children were the raw, unfiltered expressions of Gaia's infinite and primal power. But to Uranus, the father who craved only order and light, they were mistakes. They were flaws in his perfect, starry tapestry. They were shadows on his pristine indigo sky. He looked at their many reaching hands and their singular, unblinking eyes, and instead of seeing the miracle of existence, he saw only monsters. He saw a threat to his own singular glory. He saw a future he could not dominate, and in his cold, celestial fear, he turned his heart into a wall of ice. And so, The very first trauma of the universe was born not from a weapon, not from a curse, but from a father's cold, silent refusal to see his children's faces. Uranus could not bear the sight of them. He could not tolerate the wild, unkempt reality of their breathing. With a cruelty that was as silent as the vacuum of space, he took these children, these living, breathing, weeping pieces of Gaia's own soul, and he pushed them back. He forced them into the deepest, darkest, and most suffocating crevices of the Earth's body. He buried them alive within the very womb of their own mother. Imagine the silent, agonizing groans of Gaia. Feel the weight of her sorrow as she felt her children trapped, squirming and sobbing inside her, their 100 hands scratching uselessly at her stony internal walls, their single eyes staring into an absolute thick darkness where no starlight could ever penetrate. The Earth became a living prison of bone, soil, and unuttered grief. And the sky remained above, indifferent, glittering with a cold beauty, and utterly silent, refusing to let his children breathe the air, or see the first light of a dawn that was being withheld. Uranus believed that by hiding his shame he could keep his world perfect forever. He believed that by closing his eyes to the suffering he caused, he could make time stand still. He believed that the dark could hold his secrets and keep them silent. But the dark does not keep secrets. The dark nurtures them. Can you feel the weight of that ancient silence? Can you feel the heaviness of a love that has curdled into a prison? Gaia groaned in the depths of the night, her tectonic plates grinding together with a sorrow that the distant stars could never comprehend. She was the mother of all, the source of every mountain and every river, but her children were being treated as stains to be wiped away, as shames to be buried in the dirt. This was the birth of the great, tragic cycle that would haunt the gods for eons, the moment when the father decides that his own ego, his own power, is more precious than the lives he brought into being. Uranus believed that by burying the monsters, he could keep his throne for eternity. But the future does not disappear when you bury it in the earth. It only grows stronger. It gathers its strength in the silence and the damp. It feeds on the darkness, waiting for the moment when the weight of the father becomes too much for even the earth to bear. In the deepest, most hidden chamber of her being, where the heat of her core pulses like a slow, burning heart, Gaia began to craft a rebellion. She did not use lightning, for she had none. She did not use storms, for the air was still squeezed out by Uranus. She used the very minerals of her own suffering. She reached into her veins and pulled out a gray, cold, and shimmering substance, adamant. It was a metal that had never seen the sun, a metal born of immense pressure, silent grief, and the weight of mountains. From this adamant, she fashioned a sickle, a curved blade as sharp as a heartbreak, and as heavy as a mountain's shadow. The blade did not reflect the light, it seemed to swallow it. She called out to her other children, the Titans, who were still free but lived under the shadow of their father's oppressive, all-encompassing embrace. She whispered to them in the rustle of the leaves, in the shifting of the desert sands, and in the deep, low vibrations of the ground beneath their feet. She asked them, "Who will end this weight? Who will give me room to breathe? Who will free your brothers from the dark of my own body?" Most of the Titans trembled at her voice. They looked up at the vast, glittering expanse of their father, Uranus, and they felt like grains of sand against an infinite tide. They felt the coldness of his indigo gaze, and they stayed silent, their heads bowed in submission. But one son did not look away. Cronus, the youngest, the one whose mind was as sharp and as cold as the metal his mother held, stepped forward. Cronus felt the generational weight pressing down on his own shoulders. He saw the trauma of his brothers buried in the dirt, and he felt the sorrow of his mother vibrating through the soles of his feet every time he walked. He took the sickle of adamant from Gaia's hand. He decided that the cycle of the father must be broken, not realizing, in his youthful, cold certainty, that by breaking it, he was merely turning the wheel. He was not ending the trauma. he was inheriting it. Wait in the dark, the sickle is coming, the cycle turns. Feel the absolute terrifying stillness of the night as Cronus waits in the deepest shadows for the sky to descend. The air is thick, electric with a tension that has been building for 10,000 years. The world is holding its breath. The heavy blanket of stars is drifting down once more to embrace the earth, unaware that the earth is no longer a passive victim. Cronus hides within his mother's deepest, darkest folds, the cold gray metal of the sickle pressed against his chest, cooling his racing, ambitious heart. He is the son who will become a king. He is the child who will become the hunter. The stars above are beautiful, yes, but they are also distant, uncaring, and ultimately blind to the rebellion beneath them. Uranus falls toward Gaia, the weight of the heavens pressing closer and closer, until there is no space left at all, until the air is squeezed out of the valleys and the silence is absolute. And then, in one swift, silent, and devastating motion, the sun strikes. The adamant blade cuts through the celestial fabric of the Father. The sky is torn away from the earth, with a silent scream that echoes through the void and shakes the very foundations of chaos itself. The blood of the sky falls like a terrifying rain, hot, golden, and glowing with a light that should never have been shed onto the thirsty soil of the world. From these drops, new and strange life will spring, born of violence and divinity. But the ancient union is broken forever. The heavy blanket is lifted. For the very first time in history, there is a horizon. For the first time, there is space between the breathing ground and the distant stars. For the first time, there is room to move, room to breathe, room to exist without being crushed. Uranus, wounded, diminished, and shocked by the betrayal of his own flesh, retreats to the highest, coldest, and most unreachable reaches of the universe, cursed by his own son, leaving behind a throne that is now vacant and a world that is suddenly, strangely, and terrifyingly wide. Cronus stands on the blood-soaked earth, the sickle dripping in his hand, looking up at the massive, empty space he has created. He has freed his mother. He has avenged his brothers. He has done what no one else dared to do. But as he stands there in the newfound light of a free world, he feels a chill that the sun cannot warm. He has learned how to take power through blood, but he has not yet learned how to hold it without the poison of fear. The trauma has not ended. It has simply changed hands. It has moved from the father's heart to the son's mind. The father is gone, retreated into the stars, but the son has inherited the father's blade. And, more importantly, the father's shadow. Cronus looks at the horizon and realizes that one day, he too might have children. He looks at the sickle and wonders if the metal ever truly forgets its purpose. He wonders if his children will one day look at him with the same cold, sharp, and calculating eyes he used on Uranus. He wonders if they will carry blades made of their own mother's secret grief. The air is cold now, and the silence of the world is different than it was before. It is no longer the peaceful, hollow silence of the void. It is the heavy, expectant, and haunted silence of a kingdom that is waiting to see what kind of ruler its liberator will become. Wait in the dark, the sickle is coming, the cycle turns. The transition from son to king is never silent. It carries the sound of tearing stars and the long, low, aching echoes of children who were once hidden in the dark. As you drift deeper and deeper into the safety of your bed, feel the space around you. The heaviness of your blanket is not like the weight of Uranus. It is a protective weight, a chosen weight, a safe weight that keeps you warm. You are not buried in the earth. You are resting upon it, supported by the strength of Gaia. The war of the sky and the earth is over, and the long, slow, and golden reign of the Titans is beginning. The world is wide, the air is clear, and the sickle has been laid to rest in the tall, whispering grass of a world that is finally at peace, for now. But the shadows of the past are long, and they are beginning to stretch toward a new mountain, a place called Olympus, where a new father is already starting to feel the first, cold, and unmistakable prickle of fear in the center of his chest. He feels the weight of his own crown, and he hears the ghost of his father's scream in the wind. The cycle is moving, always moving, but for tonight you are still. You are outside of the war. You are safe in the silence that follows the storm. Let the stars watch over you from their new, distant height. They are far away now, no longer pressing down, leaving you in the perfect, quiet, and infinite dark of your own rest. Sleep now, for the history of the world is long, and your part in it tonight is simply to dream. Take a long, slow, and deep breath. Let it out with a quiet sigh, feeling the air leave your lungs like a gentle mist evaporating in the morning sun. The sickle has fallen. The heavy, suffocating tension that once gripped the very fabric of the world has finally broken, shattered into 1,000 silent pieces. The stars are still once again distant, shimmering, and no longer pressing down upon the earth with that crushing indigo weight. The violent separation of the sky and the ground is over, and in the wake of that cosmic storm, a profound, hollow, and cooling quiet has settled over the entire world. It is the kind of silence that follows the breaking of a great fever, a soothing peace that washes over the jagged, raw edges of the story we have just witnessed together. Feel the stillness in your own room right now, mirroring this ancient, sacred aftermath. The conflict is behind us, drifting away into the soft fog of memory, leaving you here, anchored, safe, and completely protected in the cooling shadows of the night. Close your eyes a little tighter, and let your imagination drift to the pristine shore of the newly born world. Imagine the place where the deep, dark, and ancient Aegean Sea meets the horizon that has just been opened for the very first time. The blood of the sky, that golden, glowing, and divine essence that fell during the struggle, has met the salt, the cold, and the rhythmic motion of the moving water. But the universe has a strange, beautiful, and instinctive way of healing its own wounds. As those golden drops dissolved into the restless waves, they began to churn and bubble, turning the dark indigo water into a soft, white, iridescent, and cloud-like foam. From the harshest cuts, from the most violent of partings, the most beautiful things can grow. Out of that froth and fury, a new kind of light began to emerge, soft, radiant, and incredibly gentle. This was the birth of Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, rising not from a golden cradle, but from the very foam created by the sky's release. It is a reminder to your resting mind that even after the greatest upheavals, there is a natural, inevitable return to balance and grace. The world finds its center again. The sea settles into a hum. The foam dissolves back into the infinite tide, carrying away the remnants of the pain. Floating on the foam, drifting on the tide. Imagine yourself now as a single weightless leaf upon that water, bobbing gently in the calm wake of the world's first great change. There is no more fighting to be done. There is no more weight to carry. There is only the rhythmic, salt-scented, and hypnotic pulse of the ocean. The water is cool against your thoughts, the air is fresh and clear, and the horizon is wide, vast, and open for the very first time in eternity. Feel your entire body becoming as light as that sea foam, rising and falling with the slow, effortless, and deep breathing of the earth itself. You are floating in the sacred space between what was and what is yet to come. The trauma of the past has been washed clean by the cold sea, and the quiet beauty of the present is all that remains for you to hold. Every muscle in your body is loose, like long ribbons of seaweed swaying in the deep, slow currents far below the surface. Every thought is a tiny bubble, popping softly on the surface of your mind, leaving nothing behind but absolute clarity and rest. Floating on the foam, drifting on the tide. The rhythm is hypnotic. The rhythm is kind. It is the heartbeat of a world that is finally at peace with itself. The earth beneath you is no longer a dark prison, but a vast, flowering and sun-drenched garden where the Titans now walk with heavy golden and peaceful steps. The sky above is no longer a suffocating ceiling, but an infinite, starlit invitation to dream without fear. You are in the safe, quiet center of this new world, protected by the immense distance of the stars and the infinite depth of the sea. There is a sense of immense collective relief in the atmosphere, a long-awaited exhale that vibrates through the leaves of the trees and the ancient stones of the mountains. You have survived the beginning, you have witnessed the storm, and now you are here to inherit the quiet that follows. But even in this cooling, perfect peace, the clock of the universe does not stand still. The waves continue to lap against the shore with a steady silver sound, and the sun begins its very first, slow journey across the arch of the sky. The sickle of adamant has been hidden away, buried deep in the tall, whispering grass where the shadows stay long. But the hand that held that blade is still warm. A new king sits upon the throne of the world, presiding over a golden age of abundance, light, and power. But as he looks out over his vast, beautiful, and silent kingdom, he does not feel the same peace that you feel in your bed tonight. Cronus, the liberator, the son who ended the burden of the sky, now feels a different kind of weight pressing against his ribs. He is the king, yes, but he is a king who knows exactly how thrones are taken. He is a king who understands that cycles have a haunting way of repeating themselves in the dark. He sits in the golden light of his palace, and in the silence of his heart, he is afraid. The throne is high, but the shadows at its feet are long, and the king is listening to the heartbeat of a future he knows he cannot control. He is waiting for the cycle to turn once more. Cronus heard the prophecy like a heartbeat he couldn't stop, a low, rhythmic, and terrifying thrumming in the very base of his divine skull. A persistent, cold whisper that followed him through the golden echoing halls of his celestial palace and into the quietest, most private reaches of the long, starless night. The prophecy was simple, it was sharp, and it was utterly devastating, vibrating through his bones like a curse. As you have done to your father, so shall your children do to you. In the very height of his absolute power, as the undisputed king of the Titans and the master of all existence, Cronus found that he was no longer a liberator. He was no longer the hero who had sliced through the suffocating embrace of the sky to free the earth. He was now a prisoner of the future. He looked down at his massive golden hands, the same hands that had once gripped the cold gray adamant sickle, and he saw the invisible, indelible stain of a cycle that had only just begun to turn its heavy, grinding wheel. He had created a world of incredible light, a golden age where the earth gave freely of its fruit, and the rivers ran with sweet nectar. But inside the vast, hollow mind of the king, there was only a growing, cold, and ancient shadow. He realized, with a shiver that shook his mountain throne to its foundations, that time was no longer his servant, it was a hunter. And the footsteps he heard behind him, in the silence, were the soft, inevitable, and relentless footsteps of his own unborn legacy. The fear of a father is a heavy, silent, and suffocating thing, a weight that does not announce itself with a storm, but seeps into the soul like a slow, black poison. It seeps into the way he looks at his wife, Rhea, searching her eyes for a hint of betrayal. It seeps into the way he looks at the horizon, watching for a storm that hasn't even gathered its clouds. When the first child was finally born, a beautiful and radiant daughter named Hestia, Cronus did not see a miracle of life. He did not see a new light to be cherished or a flame to be guarded. He saw a rival. He saw the sharp, silver edge of the sickle reflected in her innocent, unblinking eyes. He remembered the final, agonized scream of his father Uranus as the sky was torn away, and he felt a cold, jagged shiver of recognition. He realized that to keep his throne, to keep the universe under his absolute control, He could not simply hide his children in the dark crevices of the earth as his father had done. The earth was Gaia, and Gaia had already proven that she had a heart that could rebel. No, Cronus decided on a more absolute, more internal, and more terrifying prison. To ensure they could never rise, to ensure they could never even breathe a single word of rebellion against his reign. He would keep them where he could always feel them, where they would be a part of his own divine pulse. He would keep them inside. One by one, the young gods were consumed in a ritual of silence. Imagine this scene, told in the hushed, slow and vibrating tones of a long, heavy dream. Rhea stands in the golden, honey-colored light of the palace, holding a newborn babe against her chest, her heart full of a mother's first, tender, and fragile hope. A hope that the cycle might finally break. A hope that the cycle might finally break. But Cronus steps forward from the deep shadows, his presence blocking out the sun, his shadow stretching long, cold, and dark across the white marble floor. There is no anger in his divine face, no hatred, only a grim, hollow, and mechanical necessity that has replaced his love. He takes the child with hands that do not tremble, and then comes the sound, the heavy, wet, and rhythmic sound of the gulp, a single, echoing swallow that silences the room and freezes the very air in the lungs. Hestia was gone. She vanished into the warm, dark void of the king. Then came Demeter, her golden hair disappearing into the same lightless abyss. Gulp. Dot. The sound of a heavy iron door closing forever. Then came Hera, the future queen, swallowed before she could ever wear a crown or feel the wind. Gulp. Dot. The sound of a secret being buried deep in the warm, pulsing flesh. Then Hades, the Lord of Shadows, and then Poseidon, the master of the salt seas. Each time, the same ritual. Each time, the same heavy, pregnant silence that followed the act. Cronus felt them settle within him, a growing, shifting weight in his belly, a cold constellation of stolen lives resting forever beneath his golden, immortal ribs. Inside the stomach of the king, there was only a thick, pulsing, and timeless darkness, a space where the laws of the world were suspended. Imagine the experience of the infant gods, suspended in a warm, suffocating and liquid void that smelled of nectar and ancient fear. They were not dead, for they were immortal, born of the same starlight as their father, but they were unmade. They were held in a state of perpetual agonizing waiting, listening through the thick walls of divine flesh to the muffled, slow thud of their father's heart, a heart that beat only for itself. They heard the distant, distorted echoes of the beautiful world they were meant to rule, the rustle of the leaves, the crashing of the waves, the song of the birds. All of it felt like a dream from another life, a life they could never reach. It was a darkness so deep it felt like a physical weight, a velvet pressure against their divine skin, pressing into their eyes and their mouths. They were safe from the external world, perhaps, but they were prisoners of a fear that was not their own, a fear that belonged to the man who carried them. They lay in the dark, their tiny heartbeats eventually slowing down, syncopating with the slow, arrogant, and fearful rhythm of the one who had consumed them. They were waiting for a dawn that felt like a forgotten whisper in a house of stone. We swallow our fears, hoping they won't grow inside us, but the universe does not work that way. This is the great echoing reveal of the king's hollow heart. Cronus believed that by taking his children into himself, he could control the prophecy, that he could own the future by eating it. He believed that if he held them close enough, if he made them a literal, physical part of his own body, they could never become the other that would eventually overthrow his kingdom. But we all know the truth in the quiet, honest hours of the night. What we swallow does not disappear. It does not vanish into nothingness. It only changes form. It sits in the dark, feeding on our own life energy, growing heavier, more restless, more conscious. and more vengeful with every passing year. Cronus walked through his golden age with a stomach full of gods, a king who had slowly, quietly become a living, breathing tomb for his own blood. He thought he was protecting his power, but he was actually nourishing his own destruction from within. He was carrying his end inside him, feeling every kick of a growing foot, every stir of a divine hand, and every silent, angry heartbeat of the future he had tried so hard to deny. He was a man holding a storm inside a jar of clay, pretending the air was still. Safe inside, waiting for the light, rhythmic breathing. Feel the slow, heavy rise and fall of your own chest, now as you imagine the unnatural stillness within the massive body of Cronus. The world outside is vibrant, full of the golden sun and the laughter of his Titan brothers. But inside the king, time has slowed to a thick, stagnant, and oily crawl. Safe inside, waiting for the light, rhythmic breathing. The children do not cry. They have forgotten the sound of their own voices. They only wait. They are the terrifying patience of the universe itself. They are the seeds resting beneath 1,000 feet of heavy frozen snow, knowing with absolute certainty that spring is an inevitability that no king, no matter how powerful or how hungry, can swallow forever. Cronus sits on his high obsidian throne, his hand resting almost tenderly, almost fearfully, on his swollen torso. He tells himself he is safe. He tells himself the cycle of the sickle has stopped with him. He listens to the rhythmic breathing of the gods he has stolen, and for a long, deluded moment, he almost believes he has won the war against destiny. But the fear is still there, a sharp, adamant prickle in the very center of his soul, a splinter of ice that never melts, reminding him that even the greatest king must eventually exhale. And in that exhale, the world will change. Rhea, the mother, stood by in the long shadows of the palace and watched her family vanish, one by one, into the yawning mouth of the man she loved. With each child lost to the dark, a piece of her own immortal spirit turned to cold, unyielding stone. She saw the creeping, quiet madness in Cronus's eyes, the kind of desperate, silent madness that only comes from trying to stop the sun from rising with your bare hands. She felt the ancient, subterranean grief of Gaia echoing in her own bones, a vibration of maternal fury that began to hum like a low note on a lyre. But Rhea was a daughter of the earth, and she knew a secret that Cronus had forgotten. She knew that the earth always finds a way to reclaim what has been buried in the dark. She watched the belly of Cronus grow heavy and distended with the weight of 5 stolen gods, and when the 6th child began to stir and kick with the strength of a thunderstorm within her own womb, she realized that she could not provide another sacrifice to the king's hollow, hungry fear. She began to craft a different kind of silence. She began to plan a deception that would perfectly mirror the very first betrayal of the starry sky. Safe inside, waiting for the light, rhythmic breathing. The night was deep, the air was cold, and the stars were distant and indifferent when Rhea finally made her move. She did not go to the high, jagged mountains where the Titans lived, nor did she go to the crashing, salt-sprayed sea. She went to the secret heart of the earth, to a hidden, moss-covered cave on the island of Crete, where the air was thick with the heavy scent of wild honey, damp earth, and ancient dripping stone. There, in the flickering, protective shadows of the cave, she gave birth to Zeus, a child made of sudden lightning, rolling thunder, and immense, hidden potential. But she knew that Cronus would come. She knew he would hear the cry of the newborn vibrating through the celestial plains, a sound that would cut through his golden age like a knife. She knew he would arrive with his open mouth and his heavy, crushing shadow. And so, she reached down into the cool, dark dirt of the cave floor. She found a stone, a jagged, heavy, and cold piece of the mountain, a relic of Gaia's own body, and she began to wrap it in the clothes of a king. Rhea reaches for a stone, a cold, silent, and unyielding substitute. She wraps the rock in the softest, finest swaddling clothes she can find, perfuming it with the sweet, milky scent of a newborn, making it heavy and warm with the convincing illusion of life. She holds the stone to her breast, her heart breaking into 1,000 pieces for the 5 children already lost in the dark, but hardening into adamant for the one she must save at all costs. She waits in the mouth of the cave, listening for the heavy, rhythmic, and earth-shaking footsteps of the king approaching through the forest. She knows that Cronus is no longer looking for faces or for the warmth of love. He is only looking for threats to his crown. He is looking for something to swallow, something to bury, something to keep him safe from the inevitable turning of the cosmic wheel. The stone is cold, the air is perfectly still, and the bridge between the old world of the Titans and the new world of the Olympians is about to be crossed in a single act of consumption. Rhea stands ready, the substitute held tight in her arms, waiting to feed the king a lie that will eventually tear him apart from the inside out. Safe inside, waiting for the light, rhythmic breathing. As you drift now into the deeper, heavier layers of sleep, feel the weight of that stone and the softness of the cloth in your own mind. Feel the safety of the hidden cave, tucked away from the prying eyes of the king. You are like the young Zeus, hidden in the deep shadows, protected by a mother's cleverness and the absolute, welcoming silence of the earth. The king is coming, but he will not find you. He will never find you in this place of rest. He will only find the cold, silent substitute, while you remain in the quiet, growing strong in the dark, waiting for the moment when the light finally breaks through the weight of the stone. The cycle is turning, the breath is slowing, and the story is moving toward a storm that will change the face of the stars forever. But for now, in this sacred moment, there is only the rhythmic breathing of the night and the cold, silent weight of the stone, waiting to be taken into the dark. Every breath you take is a stone being swallowed by the night. Every thought is a child safe in a cave. Every heartbeat is a promise of the dawn. Sleep now, for the king is blind to your light, and the world is waiting for you to wake in a new age. 10 years of thunder. 10 years of mountain-shaking dreams. Imagine, if you can, a war that does not happen in a single afternoon or without the clash of steel, but one that stretches across a decade of endless twilight, a conflict so vast, so deep, and so ancient that it becomes the very fabric of the air you breathe. This was the Titanomachy, the great war between the old world and the new, between the heavy shadows of the past and the bright, sharp potential of the future. But do not think of it as a battle of noise or fury. Instead, I want you to feel it as a slow, rhythmic pulsing of the earth beneath your bed, a long, drawn-out exhaling of the entire universe as it struggles to shed its old, heavy skin. For 10 long years, the sky and the earth were locked in a fever dream. The mountains did not just stand. They trembled with the weight of gods and titans wrestling in the shifting mist. Their movements so slow and so massive that they felt like the tectonic plates of your own subconscious shifting into place. The oceans did not just flow, they surged with the deep, dark memory of a peace that had been forgotten. In the very center of this cosmic storm stood Zeus, the child who had grown in the silent shadows of a cave, now a beacon of hidden lightning, standing at the threshold of a new age. He was no longer just a son hiding from a hungry father. He was the embodiment of the sky's desire to finally, truly, and deeply breathe. Zeus did not fight this war alone, and his victory was not built on strength alone, but on the power of release. He began by reaching back into the very darkness that had once consumed his siblings. Can you feel the moment when Cronus was finally forced to exhale the future? It was not a sudden act of violence, but a slow, agonizing, and inevitable surrender. One by one, the gods emerged from the belly of the king Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. They did not come out as helpless infants, but as fully formed beings of light and shadow, their eyes already adjusted to the absolute dark, their hearts tempered by the long, silent years of waiting in the void. Imagine the reunion of these 5 siblings on the slopes of the world, a circle of gods who had shared the same internal prison, now standing free under the open, starlit canopy for the very first time. They were a family forged in the ultimate trauma, bound together by the rhythmic, muffled thrumming of their father's heartbeat, and now they were ready to reclaim the world that had been denied to them. They looked at each other in the moonlight, and they did not need words. Their connection was older than speech. It was the sacred connection of those who have survived the void together. But even the radiant strength of the new gods was not enough to topple the ancient, golden, and terrifying power of the Titans. To win a war of this scale, Zeus knew he had to go even deeper into the history of his bloodline. He had to descend into the roots of the world, into the lightless, echoing pits of Tartarus, to find the ones his grandfather Uranus had first rejected and buried in shame, the Cyclopes and the Hecatoncheires. Imagine descending, floor by floor, into the very basement of existence, where the air is thick with the scent of hot iron, ozone, and ancient, cooling lava. Zeus found them there, the 100-handed ones and the masters of the forge. He did not look at them with fear or disgust as Uranus had. He did not see monsters, he saw brothers in exile. He looked at them with recognition and respect. He saw their strength as a gift, not a flaw to be hidden. In gratitude for their long-awaited release, the Cyclops hammered out the first true weapons of the universe, from the raw minerals of the abyss, the thunderbolt for Zeus, the trident for Poseidon, and the helm of darkness for Hades. These were not just tools of war. They were extensions of their divine souls, symbols of their absolute right to shape the world according to their own dreams. The war wasn't for land, and it wasn't for gold or glory. It was for the simple, profound, and fundamental right to exist. It was a struggle to prove that the future had a place in a world that was dangerously obsessed with the past. Every time Zeus hurled a bolt of lightning, it was not just an attack. It was a strike against the suffocating heavy silence of his father's long reign. Every time the Hecatoncheires threw 1,000 stones at once, it was the earth itself rising up to reclaim its stolen freedom. But as you listen to the echoes of these ancient battles, feel how the violence begins to soften and blur in your mind. The thunder is not a scream. It is a deep, resonant hum that vibrates through your pillows, grounding you. The shaking of the mountains is like the gentle, rhythmic rocking of a cradle in a quiet room. The gods and the Titans are no longer fighting in your mind. They are dancing in a slow-motion ballet of light and shadow, a cosmic ebb and flow that is as natural as the turning of the tides or the coming of the night. You are watching this from a great, safe distance, tucked away in the high, quiet reaches of your own consciousness, where the storms of the ancient past can no longer touch you or wake you. 10 years of thunder. 10 years of mountain-shaking dreams. And then, as quickly and as quietly as it began, the fever of the world finally broke. The Titans, the ancient and golden guardians of the old age, were finally overcome, not by hatred, but by the sheer, overwhelming momentum of a new world that refused to be swallowed. They were led away into the shadows of the west, into the quiet, mist-filled places beyond the horizon, leaving the world in the hands of the siblings who had once lived and waited in the dark. The Great War was over, and the silence that followed was not the hollow, terrifying silence of the void, but a lush, fertile, and welcoming silence, full of the sound of growing things and the promise of a long peace. The air became still. The sea became a vast, dark mirror for the stars. The thunder faded into a low, comforting hum that eventually became the sound of the wind, moving through the leaves of a new forest. The storm has become your lullaby, a soft, rhythmic song that whispers of the end of the long struggle. Thunder fades into a hum. The storm becomes a lullaby. Feel the heaviness of your limbs now, spreading from your shoulders down to your fingertips, as the dust of the Titanomachy begins to settle over the world like a blanket of fine, gray, and cooling silk. The world is changing its shape before your very eyes. The jagged edges of the conflict are being smoothed over by the healing passage of time. You are no longer in the cave on Crete, and you are no longer in the dark belly of the king. You are standing on the threshold of a new era, where the gods are no longer victims, but the architects of a better world. The memory of the war is drifting away, becoming a soft story told to children to help them find their way into sleep. The lightning is now just a faint, golden flicker behind your closed eyelids, a soft reminder of the power that once moved the mountains. The world is breathing again slowly, deeply, and without the weight of fear. The trauma has been processed. The cycle has turned. And as the smoke finally clears from the highest peaks of the world, you see the destination. The dust settles, and a new mountain rises, Olympus. It is a mountain of pure white marble, eternal spring, and golden light, a place where the gods will build their homes and watch over the world they fought to save. But as they climb toward its summit, they carry the lessons of the dark with them. They know that power is fragile. They know that the past is never truly gone, but merely transformed. They look up at the stars, and they see the face of Uranus in the indigo distance. They look down at the earth, and they feel the steady heartbeat of Gaia beneath their feet. They are the new masters, but they are also the children of the abyss, and they will never forget the silence of the stomach or the dampness of the cave. As you drift now, feel the ascent toward the peak of Olympus. It is a gentle, effortless climb, a floating sensation that carries you higher and higher into the cool, thin, and perfect air of the summit. You are safe. The war is a ghost. The world is wide and quiet, and the new mountain is waiting to hold your dreams in its high, silent, and marble halls. Thunder fades into a hum. The storm becomes a lullaby. Every breath you take now is a century of peace. Every heartbeat is a heavy stone settling into its perfect place on the high walls of the new palace. The universe is finally, truly resting after its long and difficult labor. The Titans are asleep in the deep places of the west. The gods are quiet on their new thrones. And you, the silent witness to it all, are drifting into the most profound and perfect silence of all the silence of a world that has finally found its balance in the dark. Sleep now, for the new mountain is strong, the foundation is deep, and the night is long. The story of the stars has only just begun to be written in the quiet, drifting spaces of your own mind. You are the peace that follows the storm. You are the quiet after the thunder. You are home. The air is thin, cool, and incredibly sweet on the mountaintop, a breath of pure, celestial clarity that washes over your mind like a soft, silver rain. Imagine, if you can, standing at the very highest peak of the world, where the clouds are no longer above you, but far beneath your feet, forming a vast, silent, and rolling ocean of white mist that stretches to the very edge of the indigo universe. This is Olympus, the high, sacred sanctuary of the new gods, a place where the echoing screams of the Great War have finally, completely, and permanently faded into the nothingness of the past. There is no thunder here anymore. There is no shaking of the earth or the heart. There is only a profound, golden, and unwavering stability that reaches deep into the stone of the mountain and the marrow of your bones. As you breathe in this ancient mountain air, feel it filling your lungs with a sense of pure, unhurried peace. The atmosphere here is different. It is lighter than the air of the valleys, yet it feels more solid, a realm where time itself has decided to slow down, as if the mountain is holding its collective breath in a state of eternal, blissful meditation. You are safe here. You are far above the struggles, the fears, and the heavy burdens of the era that came before. You are standing on a foundation of white stone that will never, ever move. Take a slow, deliberate, and weightless walk with me through the silent, echoing, and majestic halls of the gods. The floors beneath your feet are crafted from polished, milk-white marble, so smooth and so cool to the touch that they feel like frozen moonlight beneath your skin. There is no conflict here, no raised voices, and no lingering shadows of old fears. Every massive pillar you pass is a monument to the quiet strength of the divine family, reaching upward to support a vaulted ceiling painted with the soft, glowing constellations of a peaceful sky. The halls are filled with a soft, ambient, and honey-colored radiance, not the harsh, blinding glare of the midday sun, but a gentle, golden glow that seems to emanate from the very veins of the marble walls themselves. It is a light that does not cast long shadows, a light that warms your weary skin and tells your resting mind that the long journey is finally over. As you move through these wide, empty corridors, feel the immense, protective silence of the palace. It is a silence that is not empty or hollow, but full and rich with the presence of gods who are finally, truly, and deeply at rest. Even the gods, the immortal masters of the lightning, the earth, and the sea, need a place to lay down their heads. This is the great, quiet reveal of Olympus. Behind the grand stories of power and the epic myths of glory, there is a simple, fundamental, and very ancient need for a home. Zeus, the king of the heavens, sits on his high throne, but his eyes are closed in a peaceful slumber, his legendary lightning bolt resting quietly at his side, like a sleeping, golden pet. Hera walks through her private gardens in the twilight, her fingers brushing gently against the petals of flowers that never fade and never wilt, her heart finally free from the crushing weight of the long war. Poseidon has returned from the salt of the deep, his great trident leaning casually against a wall of iridescent pearl, listening to the absolute silence of the mountain, instead of the eternal roar of the waves. In this place, at this hour, the gods are no longer warriors or kings. They are a family, resting in the quiet, silver aftermath of their victory. They have built this mountain sanctuary not just to rule the world, but to have a place where they can finally lay down their heavy burdens and simply be. They have created a sanctuary for their own eternal souls, and in doing so, they have created a sanctuary for yours. Quiet marble, golden light, eternal, drifting sleep. Can you feel the heaviness of your own eyelids as you contemplate the stillness of the Olympian halls? Your bed has become a part of this marble palace, strong, secure, and infinitely comfortable. The golden light of the mountain is wrapping around you like a heavy, silken quilt of starlight, shielding you from the noise and the movement of the world far below. Everything in the universe is in its right place. The stars are fixed in their silent orbits. The seasons are waiting patiently for their turn to bloom. The gods are breathing in a slow, synchronized, and deep rhythm that matches the slow, steady beating of your own heart. There is nothing left to fight, nothing left to fear, and nothing left to do but drift away into the white mist. The universe is in perfect order, and you are a quiet part of that order. You are a guest in the house of the immortals, and the peace of the high mountain is now your peace. Quiet marble, golden light, eternal sleep. The world below is a distant, blurred memory, a tapestry of green and blue lost beneath the clouds of the summit. But even as the gods rest in their high marble sanctuary, the story of existence continues to move in the quiet shadows of the valleys. For peace, as beautiful and as necessary as it is never the final end of the journey. Below the high, white peaks, tucked away in the hidden valleys and the dark, fertile forests of the earth, A titan who did not fight in the Great War is beginning to move with purpose. He is a titan of deep thought, of incredible foresight, and of an immense quiet compassion that rivals the gods themselves. He is looking at the empty quiet places of the world, the spaces where the gods do not walk, and he is beginning to gather the red clay of the earth in his clever, immortal, and gentle hands. But below the mountain, a titan is crafting a new story for the world to hear. Prometheus is leaning over a quiet riverbank, his mind full of a new and dangerous dream, a dream of beings who will look like the gods, but who will have the warm, fragile hearts of mortals. He is preparing to bring the first spark of fire to the cold dark, to bridge the infinite gap between the high marble halls and the damp earth below. The Olympian peace is perfect, but it is about to be shared with a new generation. As you drift now into the deepest, softest layers of the night, know that the world is wide enough for both the peace of the gods and the fire of the humans. You are the bridge between them. You are the story being told. Sleep now, in the golden light of the mountain, while the new world begins to take its shape in the hands of the titan below. Prometheus looked at the red, damp clay of the riverbank, and he did not see just earth. He saw us. He saw our potential, our fragile beauty, and our strange, haunting capacity for endless wonder. Imagine, if you can, the world as it was before the very first spark of human consciousness, a vast, breathtakingly beautiful, but utterly silent theater where the gods played on their high marble mountain, and the animals moved in their instinctive, unthinking circles, but no one ever looked up at the cold stars and asked the simple, devastating question: why? Prometheus, the titan of foresight, the one whose very name means to think before all others, stood by the quiet riverbanks of the young, raw world and felt a profound, aching loneliness on behalf of the earth itself. He reached down with his immortal, clever, and gentle hands and began to shape the damp red earth, molding it not into the fleeting form of a beast or the feathered grace of a bird, but into the dignified likeness of the gods themselves. He gave us 2 strong legs to stand upright, so that we might always look at the heavens. And he gave us hands that could create, hands that could heal, and hands that could hold one another in the dark. But as he looked at his creations, standing cold, shivering, and pale in the long, damp shadows of the primordial forests, he realized with a heavy heart that form was not enough. We were hollow vessels. We were beautiful statues of clay, but we were dark inside. We were missing the one singular thing that separates a piece of earth from a living soul. We were missing the fire. The gods on the high peak of Olympus were content in their golden silence, their sweet nectar, and their eternal, unchanging peace. To Zeus, the king of the sky, humanity was a mere curiosity at best, a fleeting nuisance at least. He did not wish to share the divine essence of the stars. He did not want the creatures of the mud to possess the terrifying power of the sun. But Prometheus felt a deep, stirring, and sacrificial empathy, a love for the underdog that began long before he was ever chained to the cold stone. He knew that without the gift of fire we would forever be the frightened children of the night, huddled in damp caves, terrified of the thunder, and lost in the mechanical cycles of survival. And so, he began the most elegant, the most quiet, and the most meaningful theft in the history of the entire universe. Imagine the Titan walking softly, like a shadow moving through a dream, through the golden, echoing halls of Olympus. His footsteps made no sound on the polished, moonlit marble floors. He did not carry a heavy sword or a shield. He carried only a simple, hollow stalk of fennel. He approached the eternal, roaring hearth of the gods, the primal source of all warmth and all light, and he captured a single, glowing, and defiant coal within the soft pith of the reed. He hid the sun itself inside a blade of grass. He carried that forbidden light down the steep, dark slopes of the mountain, shielding it with his own immortal body, a thief of light who stole not for his own glory, but for the shivering, silent shadows waiting below in the valley. When he finally reached the cold earth, he gave us the gift that would change the destiny of the stars. Imagine the very first time a human hand touched the radiating warmth of a flame. It was the birth of everything we know, the birth of the family hearth, the birth of the great city, the birth of the scientific mind, and the birth of the artistic dream. But such a magnificent gift comes with a price that the Titan knew. With his great foresight, he would eventually have to pay in full. Zeus, looking down from his high obsidian throne, saw the flickers of orange, red, and gold beginning to appear across the dark, vast plains of the earth. He saw the smoke rising from the first humble altars. He saw that the clay had finally begun to think for itself. The punishment was as eternal as the Titan's own spirit. Prometheus was taken to the highest, coldest, and most desolate peaks of the Caucasus Mountains and chained to a jagged, unyielding rock with unbreakable bonds of cold adamant. Every day, a great eagle, the sharp-eyed symbol of Zeus's cold, absolute authority, would descend from the clouds to tear at his liver. And every night, because he was immortal and his spirit was fueled by the very fire he stole, the liver would grow back in the healing, silent presence of the stars. It was a cycle of profound pain, but in the dream logic of this ancient tale, we must see it for what it truly was. It was the weight of love. Prometheus suffered so that we would not have to suffer in the absolute dark. He carried the agony of the cold mountain so that we could carry the warmth of the living fire in our own hearts. Why do we suffer? This is the deep, philosophical question that Prometheus whispers to us from his chains as we drift towards sleep. We suffer because we are made of both the low clay and the high fire. We are grounded forever in the earth, subject to the laws of bone, breath, and mortality. Yet we carry within us a piece of the sun that absolutely refuses to be extinguished. We are the only creatures in this wide universe who know that we are going to end, and yet we are the only creatures who build monuments, write songs, and tell stories that intend to last forever. Our suffering is the beautiful friction between our limited, fragile bodies and our infinite, soaring dreams. Prometheus saw this in the red clay. He knew that by giving us fire, he was giving us the ability to burn, to feel the searing heat of passion, the deep ache of grief, and the glowing warmth of ambition. He chose this path for us because he knew that a life without the flame, a life spent in the safe, cold, and mindless shadows of instinct, was not a life truly worth living. He traded his own physical freedom for our internal spark, teaching us that the greatest acts of creation are always born from the greatest acts of sacrifice. Humanity is the only creature that carries a piece of the sun within its chest. Every hearth fire that has ever burned, every candle flame that has ever flickered in the wind, and every spark of a new idea in the mind of a child is a direct, living descendant of that original coal hidden in the fennel stalk. As you lie here now, in the absolute safety and comfort of your own room, feel the warmth radiating from within your own chest. That is the Promethean spark. It is the part of you that continues to dream while your body sleeps. It is the part of you that remembers the light even when your eyes are tightly closed. You are not just a creature of the earth. You are a carrier of the celestial fire. The night may be dark, the world outside may be cold, and the mountains of life may be steep, but you have the flame. You have the warmth that the gods tried to keep for themselves in their high, selfish halls. You are the Titan's greatest masterpiece, a living, breathing bridge between the damp red clay of the ground and the eternal burning stars of the heavens. The flame flickers, the heart beats, the night protects. Feel the rhythmic, comforting, and steady pulse of your own heart. It is a slow, ancient drum beat that echoes the nightly healing of the Titan's spirit. The flame flickers, the heart beats, the night protects. The eagle of Zeus has flown away into the long shadows of the past. The chains of adamant have turned into soft ribbons of silk. You are safe in the warmth of the fire that Prometheus stole specifically for you. There is no need to fear the dark, for the dark is simply the canvas upon which your internal fire shines the brightest and the most clear. Let your breath become as steady and as rhythmic as the glowing embers of a dying hearth at the end of a long, happy day. You are resting in the glow of 1 billion years of human history, all of it sparked by a single, quiet act of empathy. The night is not your enemy, it is your guardian, a soft velvet blanket that keeps your fire contained and protected so that it may burn more brightly and more boldly when the dawn finally arrives on the horizon. The flame flickers, the heart beats, the night protects. In the silence of the night, we can almost hear the Titan breathing. He is not screaming in pain, he is breathing in rhythm with the earth. He is watching us from his mountain, seeing the cities we have built and the fires we have lit. He sees you now, as you settle into the soft embrace of sleep. He sees that his sacrifice was worth the price. The fire is no longer his secret, it is your inheritance. It is the warmth in your blankets, the peace in your mind, and the hope in your soul. Every time you inhale, you are fueling that spark. Every time you exhale, you are letting go of the cold. The mountain is far away. The rock is gone. There is only the glow. But as the fire warmed the humble houses of men, and the clay began to build great civilizations that reached for the clouds, the high gods realized that they could not take the fire back. Once the spark is given, it can never be truly extinguished by force. Instead, the king of the gods decided to temper the gift of fire with a new kind of complexity, a new layer of the human experience. Zeus looked down at the thriving, busy world of humans, and he saw that they were becoming perhaps too much like the gods themselves. They had the fire, but they did not yet have the full, heavy weight of the human story. And so, on the high peak of Olympus, a new plan was forged in the silence, a plan involving a woman made of every divine grace, a woman named Pandora, who was sent down to the world not with a weapon of war, but with a simple, heavy, and mysterious object. Zeus smiled a cold smile as he watched her descend the mountain path, knowing that the fire of Prometheus was about to meet its very first true challenge. Along with the heat of the fire, there came a gift in a jar, a gift that would change the meaning of human hope for all of eternity. Along with fire came a gift in a jar. As you drift now into the deepest, warmest, and most peaceful layers of your sleep, feel the soft flicker of the flame behind your closed eyelids. You are a child of the fire and the clay, a perfect balance of the earth and the sun. You are safe. You are warm. The Titan is resting in the starlight, the eagle is gone into the mist, and the world is finally quiet. The fire is yours to keep forever, and the night is yours to dream in. Let the warmth spread from the center of your chest all the way to your toes, a gentle, golden glow that carries you across the bridge and into the land of shadows, where the jar is still closed and the stars are the only lights you will ever need. Sleep now, for the fire is guarded, the hearth is warm, and the story of the flame is safe within the temple of your own resting mind. The night is long, the dream is deep, and the fire is eternal. Pandora was made of everything beautiful and everything curious. Imagine, if you can, a woman who was not born of the earth or the sea, but crafted by the very hands of the gods themselves on the high sun-drenched marble of Olympus. She was the gods' answer to the fire of Prometheus, a masterpiece of grace, a living mosaic of divine gifts. Aphrodite, the goddess of love, stepped forward first, breathing into Pandora the kind of radiant, effortless beauty that moves like water over smooth stones, a grace that makes the heart skip a beat and then settle into a long, slow thrumming. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, draped her in robes woven from the silver mist of the morning, and gave her the intellectual clarity to see the hidden patterns in the stars and the quiet language of the trees. Hermes, the messenger, gave her a voice like a silver bell, a voice that could weave stories and sing melodies that echo through the long halls of time. But it was Zeus, the king of Olympus, the one who watched the world with eyes of cold lightning, who gave her the most powerful, the most dangerous, and the most human gift of all. He gave her curiosity. He gave her curiosity. He gave her a mind that wondered about the shadows in the corner of the room, a heart that beat faster for the unknown, and a soul that could not find true rest until every door was opened and every secret was revealed. And along with this burning, restless curiosity, Zeus gave her a gift that would change the destiny of every human heart. He gave her a jar. It was a heavy, ancient and beautifully carved vessel made of dark earth and bronze, sealed tightly with a lid that felt cold and absolute to the touch. "Never open this," Zeus whispered into the velvet silence of her ear, his smile thin and distant, like the first light of a winter dawn. But the king of the gods knew, as the stars know the inevitable path of the moon, that a heart made of pure curiosity cannot live in a house of secrets forever. He knew that by telling her not to look, he was ensuring that she eventually would. He was planting a seed of tension in the middle of her peace, a small rhythmic ticking that would eventually demand to be heard. Pandora descended the long, winding paths from the high mountain to the green valleys of the earth, carrying the jar like a sacred heavy burden, unaware that she was carrying the weight of the entire world's future in her slender, mortal arms. Pandora lived among the first humans, in the warmth of the hearth fires that Prometheus had stolen from the heavens, but her eyes were always drawn back to that bronze lid. It sat in the quiet corner of her home, silent, expectant, and humming with a mystery that grew louder in the deep, still hours of the night. Pandora was not a bringer of evil, and she was not a creature of malice. She was simply a seeker of truth. She wanted to know the fullness of the world she had been born into. She wanted to understand the colors of the shadows just as much as she understood the brightness of the light. For a long, long time, she resisted the urge. She listened to the fire crackling in the hearth. She watched the rain dancing on the leaves, and she felt the steady, safe heartbeat of the world around her. But the curiosity within her was like a slow, burning ember in a bed of ash, glowing brighter and hotter with every passing sunset. One evening, when the world was bathed in the soft, purple-gray light of the twilight, the weight of the unknown became too much for her to carry. Her fingers, trembling with a mixture of fear, wonder, and destiny, reached out and touched the cool, dark bronze of the seal. The opening of the jar was not a violent explosion, and it was not a sudden burst of noise. Instead, it was a soft, collective, and infinite sigh that seemed to echo to the very ends of the earth and the bottom of the sea. As the lid was lifted, the shadows began to fly out, thin, gray, ghostly shapes that drifted like heavy smoke into the cooling evening air. These were the sorrows of the world, the heavy ancient burdens that the gods had kept locked away in the dark for eons. Sickness, old age, envy, pain, and the slow aching sting of grief. Pandora watched, her breath caught in her throat and her heart pounding against her ribs as these dark, translucent butterflies of human experience spread their wings and disappeared into the night. They flew over the quiet valleys and the jagged mountains, settling into the corners of every human home, bringing with them the weight of mortality and the beautiful, terrible complexity of the human soul. For a long moment, the entire world felt heavy. The air felt thick with the sudden knowledge of pain. Pandora felt a deep, cold shiver of regret wash over her as she looked into the sudden emptiness of the jar. She thought she had lost everything. She thought she had broken the world's peace forever, leaving us to wander in a landscape of shadows. But the jar was not empty. At the very bottom of the vessel, buried deep beneath the swirling shadows and the escaping smoke, there was something else, something small, something glowing, and something incredibly beautifully stubborn. This was hope. While the sorrows and the pains flew far and wide to change the face of the earth, hope remained exactly where it was. It stayed in the jar. It stayed with Pandora. It stayed for us. Hope was at the bottom because it is the only thing in this universe that stays when everything else has gone. It is the only gift that is stronger than the shadows, the only light that does not fade when the sun goes down and the stars are hidden by the clouds. Zeus had hidden it there as the ultimate divine paradox. He gave the world the weight of suffering, but he also gave us the one thing that makes that suffering endurable, the one thing that turns a tragedy into a story. Hope is not a loud or a powerful force. It is the quiet, persistent, and rhythmic pulse that tells the heart to keep beating, to keep breathing, and to keep dreaming, even when the night is at its longest and its darkest point. Hope is a whisper. Hope is a dream. Hope is your breath. Can you feel that quiet, steady light settling into the center of your own chest now, as you lie in the absolute stillness of the night? Hope is a whisper. Hope is a dream. Hope is your breath. It is the soft, comforting warmth of your blankets against your skin. It is the rhythmic, peaceful rising and falling of your lungs as the room grows dark. It is the quiet certainty, deep in your bones, that the dawn will return to the world, even if you cannot see the sun from where you are lying. Pandora looked down at that tiny, radiant spark at the bottom of the jar, and she finally smiled, for she realized in that moment that she had not brought destruction. She had brought the true human experience. She had given us the ability to feel the full, magnificent depth of life, and she had given us the anchor of hope to hold on to in the middle of every storm. The shadows may be out there, drifting in the cool night air, but they are powerless against the small, steady, and eternal glow that lives inside you. You are the keeper of the jar now. You are the one who holds the spark. Hope is a whisper. Hope is a dream. Hope is your breath. The long, winding story of the gods and the titans, the sky and the earth, the fire of the mountain and the clay of the rivulet, all ends here in this quiet, safe room, with the closing of a lid and the steady beating of a human heart. The great wars of the heavens are over and done. The titans are resting in the far, golden west. The gods are sleeping in their high marble halls on the peak of Olympus. The fire is burning low and orange in the hearth, and the entire world is wrapped in a thick, velvet blanket of peace. You have traveled through the very dawn of time, through the storms of creation and the birth of humanity, only to find yourself back here, safe and sound, in the most sacred and quiet place of all, the present moment. The night is no longer a dark mystery to be feared. It is a friend to be embraced. The darkness is not empty. It is full of the hope that Pandora kept specifically for you. Hope is a whisper. Hope is a dream. Hope is your breath. Let your mind drift away now, like a leaf on a calm river, away from the high mountains and the deep caves of the myths. Let the names of the gods Zeus, Cronus, Prometheus fade into a soft, indistinct, and comforting hum. They are only echoes now, the distant shadows of a story that has fulfilled its divine purpose. Your body is heavy, pulling you down into the soft embrace of your bed. Your mind is clear, like a lake at night, and your soul is light, floating on the air. You are drifting deeper and deeper into the healing, quiet waters of sleep. The fire is guarded by the hearth. The spark of hope is safe in your heart. The night is yours to explore in your dreams. The stories are dawning. The night is deepening. As you transition now into the ultimate perfect silence, remember that you are the most beautiful part of the entire myth. You are the reason the fire was stolen from the sun. You are the reason the hope was kept in the dark. The universe is watching over you with a billion starry golden eyes, and it is satisfied with your journey. The cycle is complete. The wheel of the year has stopped turning. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to think, and nothing left to carry but your own breath. The stories are dawning in the far distance of your dreams, but here, in this quiet room, the night is deepening into a perfect, absolute, and eternal rest. Sleep now, child of the fire and the clay. Sleep now, for the dawn is a long way off, and the hope is here, breathing with you, until the very end of time. The stories are dawning. The night is deepening. The three fates are sitting in the quiet, shadowed corner of your room now, their ancient and tireless hands moving in a slow, rhythmic, and hypnotic dance that has no beginning and no end. Can you feel the soft, silver vibration of their presence? They do not bring the weight of judgment or the coldness of decree. They bring only the ultimate, gentle weaving of the night. There is Clotho, the youngest, her fingers spinning the raw starlight into a fine, shimmering thread that feels as light as a sigh against your skin. There is Lachesis, her hands measuring the length of the shadows, ensuring that the darkness is exactly as deep and as comforting as you need it to be. And there is Atropos, the oldest, who does not come today with her shears to cut, but with her palms open to catch the remnants of your waking thoughts as they fall away into the void. They are here to weave the final remnants of the story into the very fabric of your bed, turning the myths of the gods into the soft velvet lining of your dreams. The loom is silent, the room is still, and the thread of the universe is becoming one with the rhythm of your own slow, deep, and effortless breathing. Visualize the long golden thread of the story we have shared together, from the first separation of the sky to the theft of the fire and the opening of the jar. See that thread beginning to fray at the edges, not with brokenness, but with a beautiful, luminous softening. It is no longer a line of history or a chain of events. It is dissolving. It is melting into a warm, silver mist that is slowly filling the space around you. The golden halls of Olympus are dissolving into the soft texture of your pillow. The dark caves of Crete are merging with the quiet shadows of your room. The fire of Prometheus is cooling into a gentle internal glow that warms your limbs from the inside out. Everything you have heard, everything you have imagined, is losing its solid shape and becoming a part of the air you breathe. You are no longer a listener at the edge of a story. You are the ocean into which the story is slowly flowing, becoming a single, vast, and peaceful body of water where the ripples are finally still. The gods are dissolving. The titans are dissolving. The stone, the clay, and the adamant are all turning into the weightless dust of the stars. Can you feel yourself dissolving with them? Not in a way that is frightening, but in a way that is profoundly liberating. You are letting go of the name you carry during the day. You are letting go of the tasks you have performed and the worries you have held. You are becoming a creature of pure, unadorned existence, a thread of light that is being woven back into the great eternal tapestry of the night. There is no you, and there is no myth. There is only the slow, rhythmic movement of the loom, and the infinite dark space between the stars. You are detaching from the shore of reality, pushing off into a dreamscape where the laws of time and gravity have no power over you. You are weightless. You are formless. You are peace. Spinning, weaving, cutting, sleeping. Listen to the mantra of the fates as it hums in the silence of your mind. Spinning, weaving, cutting, sleeping. The spinning is the breath coming in. The weaving is the breath staying for a moment, warming your heart. The cutting is the breath leaving, taking with it the last remnants of the waking world. And the sleeping is the space that remains. A vast, white, and silent space where the story ends and you begin. For here is the final reveal, the secret that the fates whisper as they finish their work. You are the author of the next cycle. When you wake in the new dawn, you will be the one who decides how the fire burns and how the clay is shaped. But that is for another time, a different age, a distant world. Right now, your only duty is to the silence. Your only task is to be woven into the dark. Spinning, weaving, cutting, sleeping. The loom is slowing down now. The silver thread has become so thin and so fine that it is almost invisible, a part of the very moonlight that filters through your window. The three fates are fading back into the indigo mist, their work complete, their blessing left behind in the stillness of your room. The story is no longer outside of you. It is the blood in your veins and the peace in your spirit. The mountain of Olympus has sunk beneath the horizon of your consciousness. The fire has become the warmth of your own sleep. There are no more words to hear, no more images to see, and no more paths to follow. You have arrived at the very center of the night, the place where the silence is absolute and the rest is eternal. The gods are asleep. The titans are stars. You are here. Feel the profound truth of those words as they drift like smoke through your mind. The gods are asleep. Their power is at rest. Their voices are hushed, and their halls are dark. The titans are stars. They are no longer monsters or kings, but distant, beautiful lights that watch over the world from a place of perfect indifference. And you are here. You are in the safe, warm and protected center of it all. You are the point of stillness in the middle of the turning wheel. You are the one who remains when the story is over. You are the quiet, the calm, and the deep. The gods are asleep. The titans are stars. You are here. Let the last spark of your awareness dissolve into the velvet dark. There is no more past. There is no more future. There is only this breath, this bed, and this perfect heavy silence. The tapestry is finished. The loom is still. The night is complete. Every time you close your eyes and let the weight of the day fall away from your weary shoulders, we return to this ancient flickering campfire at the very edge of the universe. This is our sacred shared space, a sanctuary of shadows and stories that exists outside of time, outside of worry, and outside of the waking world. You are here because your soul remembers the light of the first fire, and your heart knows the rhythm of the oldest myths. As you lie in the perfect heavy stillness of your room, feel the warmth of this invisible flame radiating through your blankets, comforting your limbs and quieting your mind. You have traveled through the dawn of the stars and the depths of the earth tonight, and now you have arrived at the most important destination of all, the absolute, unwavering peace of the present moment. Every time you return to this place, the story becomes deeper, the silence becomes richer, and your rest becomes more profound. If these ancient myths, these echoes of gods and titans, of fire and clay have found a welcoming home in your heart tonight, then we shall surely meet again in the very next shadow. There is a strange and beautiful comfort in knowing that as the world turns and the sun sets again tomorrow, this campfire will be waiting for you, exactly as it is now. If you feel a sense of gratitude for this journey, let that feeling settle into your subconscious like a seed in the dark earth. You don't need to think about it, and you don't need to act upon it now. Just let it be. Your soul knows the way back to this light. Your spirit knows how to find this harbor whenever the waves of life become too high. We are bound by the threads that the fates have spun, and those threads will always draw you back to the safety of these stories. If this journey has served you, your inner self will remember to seek this voice again, to subscribe to this quietness, and to return to this hearth whenever the night calls for peace. The words are fading now. The stories are becoming a soft, indistinct hum that vibrates in the very air around you. There is nothing more to learn, nothing more to understand, and nothing more to remember. The jar of Pandora is closed, and the hope is inside you, breathing as you breathe. The mountain of Olympus is a distant, silent peak in the mist of your memory. The fire of Prometheus is a steady, gentle glow in your chest. You are moving beyond the reach of language, beyond the structure of myths, and into the vast open ocean of pure, dreamless sleep. There is no I, and there is no you. There is only the night, and the peace, and the deep. Sleep now. Feel the darkness wrapping around you like a heavy silken cloak, protecting you from every thought and every sound. Sleep now. Let the bed beneath you become the very foundation of the earth, steady and strong, holding you in its ancient embrace. Sleep now. Your breath is a slow, rhythmic tide, pulling you further and further away from the shore of reality. Sleep now. The stars are watching, the fates are resting, and the universe is quiet. Sleep now. The world is gone. The night is all there is. Sleep now. Sleep. Sleep. Bite.